So I recently made a video on the fact that there are 150 logbooks that you can get for all of the enemies that you could possibly publicly get for Tower Defense Simulator. And now that's correct at the time of recording this video, it might be more, but here's a question. What is the best way to grind out logbooks? Now I'm not talking about, this is what you need to do. You need to use the accelerator, because everyone's use cases is different. No, I'm just going to tell you, or I'm going to somehow tell you, what is the best way to get logbooks in succession order? Now, at the time of recording this video, the Frost Invasion event is active, so obviously what most people have deduced is because the Frost Invasion event is going to end in about 3 days, that game mode is the best one to grind out logbooks because they're not going to be able to be gotten after the event ends. Now, the advice for this is going to be irrelevant by the time this video comes out because I believe this will be released after the Wednesday. But, I mean, the best way to grind it out would have been easy mode and then just use timescale tickets to speed up things because in easy mode, it's not really that much of a difference compared to hard mode in terms of actual drop book rates. And the limiting factor for that is the Frost Spirit. And because the Frost Spirit has over 100,000 health in easy mode, your odds of it dropping are not increased in easy mode compared to hard mode. In fact, that's going to be the theme of this video. The most limiting factor for each game mode is going to be which is the most rarest logbook. And from that, we can work our way downwards, down the pyramid of the easiest to get logbook to the hardest to get logbooks down to the easiest to get logbooks. Because if you naturally get the hardest logbooks, you're going to get the easiest logbooks naturally. That's just the way the things work with the logbooks. For example, you're very likely to get the normal logbook if you're grinding out the, let's say, Patient Zero logbook, because the normals always spawn way before the Patient Zero and in much greater numbers. So you always hit the 20 limit threshold for the normals before the Patient Zero threshold. Therefore, it is always best to go for the most limiting factor in each game mode. So, with that, what is the most limiting factor or the most limited logbook that you can get in Tower Defense Simulator? And for that would be the the Summoner boss, which is this. Yes, it is ugly. It's got the new Roblox textures, unfortunately. It's the Summoner boss and the Dark Necromancer. So here, yes, the Dark Necromancer appears in Fallen Legacy. Now, unlike other enemies, these enemies don't have a modern variant to get the logbooks in. So there is a Summoner version, yes, but there's not a Summoner boss. You don't get the Summoner with the Summoner boss, neither do you get the Summoner boss with the Summoner. However, with the Summoner and the I think the Dark Necromancer would be, the equivalent would be a Necromancer, but do I have the Necromancer? I don't think I have the Necromancer. In these cases, in the Dark Necromancer and the Summoner boss's case, they only appear in one map and in one challenge map, and that map is Gilded Path, and that's only for the Juggernaut challenge. It does not appear elsewhere. Now, it's because that challenge maps use the original Legacy waves, Fallen waves, and they don't have enemies beta. Some of the challenges don't have enemies beta by default. Some of them do. So I believe what Molten has said is Jail Towers. That is a map which has enemies beta on by default because I think it's because it depends on whether or not the game mode was reworked to befit the new game mode system. For example, Back to Basics and Jail Towers all use the updated Fallen mode enemy appearances, so I think they all have the enemies beta modifier. The only maps that haven't are, I believe, Oops, All Slimes, Juggernaut, Legion, and maybe Vanguard? No, Vanguard was updated, received changes in the Fallen Foes update, so the original version of Vanguard never appeared. Oops, All Slime was actually modified as well, which leaves only 2 game modes which haven't been modified to have the enemies beta appearance. That being Legion and Juggernaut. However, Legion, the 2 maps in rotation for Legion currently, because Candy Valley was removed quite a long time ago, actually. Yeah, 2nd of August. The only 2 maps are Winter Stronghold and Infernal Abyss, and they have enemies beta. So therefore, that means that the Dark Necromancer is replaced by the Necromancer, and the Summoner boss is replaced by the Necromancer boss, and you don't get the logbooks, the Summoner boss logbook, nor the Dark Necromancer logbooks for the respective enemies. Therefore, that only leaves Juggernaut, and Dead Ahead, Gilded Path, Lay-By, and Mason Archer is the maps for this game mode, or this challenge map. And the only map without enemies beta is Gilded Path. Unfortunately, that means that this is going to be quite hard to get. Dead Ahead has it, Lay-By has it, and Mason Arch has it. Therefore, assuming that each challenge has an equal chance of appearing, it therefore means that you have a 1 in 7 chance of getting Juggernaut challenge, and then you also have a 1 in 4 chance of getting the Gilded Path map for that challenge. Therefore, you only have a 3.5% chance of it appearing a week, or well, a 3.5% chance of it appearing as a challenge map to get the Necromancer boss and the Summoner boss, or the Dark Necromancer, sorry. Times it by the 52 weeks there are in a year, you only realistically expect it to appear twice a year. Therefore, it is going to be quite hard to get, and therefore, if the Gilded Path Juggernaut challenge appears, get it as soon as possible. Now, with that, that does mean that you can get all of the other exclusive legacy version enemies in there. So, for example, the Error, that also appears in there, and the Glitch also appears in there. So, if you're grinding out the Juggernaut challenge for the Summoner boss and, sorry, the Necromancer boss and the Dark Necromancer, you're very likely to get all of the other legacy items, including the tank and the glitch. With that being said, though, the stuff like the tank and the glitch can appear in some special maps, so you don't need to exclusively get it through the Dark Necromancer or the Summoner boss thing, but we are assuming the minimum amount of games that you need, and the Necromancer and the Summoner boss, they only appear exclusively in Juggernaut Gilded Path, so we need to assume that you can get it. We need to assume that you're able to beat the game mode because it's active. Therefore, to get the Summoner boss and the Dark Necromancer, the limiting factor here is the Summoner boss because that only appears 4 times in Juggernaut. So, therefore, you need to at least beat Gilded Path Juggernaut 5 times to get the Summoner boss and the Dark Necromancer boss, Dark Necromancer logbooks. That being said, all of the other enemies you will be able to get naturally through other means, but you're able to get them through here as well. So I will mention them if they're only exclusive to a certain game mode, but for now, we're going to have to do 5 for Juggernaut Gilded Path. The next limiting factor will be hardcore mode. Now, this is because it has a load of legacy enemies that do not appear elsewhere. Most notably, obviously, the Void Reaver. Now, I should mention that I'm assuming that you have to beat every game mode, because to get the bosses for this, you need to beat every game mode. Juggernaut, that's not the case. You only need to actually get up to, like, wave 39 and then beat the 2 Necromancer bosses. No, the 1 Necromancer boss that appears there. Summoner boss, sorry. So if you want to save some time, just get up to wave 39 and then just beat that over and over again. You can't restart as well. Now, in the case of the Void Reaver, because it has over 100,000 health, you may not need to beat hardcore mode 20 times. In the case of the Summoner boss, you will probably have to beat it 20 times because its health is really low, so its odds are really low. But for the Void Reaver, it is plausible that you might get it before the 20 kills are required for it. I know, because for the Frost Spirit, I would have to beat that. I only beat it 10 times before the logbook dropped, because it has a 5% chance of dropping. Speaking of which, yeah, for Operation Ice, you would only need to beat it 20 times to guarantee the drop for the Frost Spirit, so you need 20 times to beat Operation Ice. As I said, though, because the Frost Spirit is a limiting factor, once you get the Frost Spirit logbook, you probably have all the other logbooks. May not be the case, but yeah, typically it's the Frost Spirit that is the limiting factor here. So once you get the Frost Spirit, it's all done. You require 20 kills to guarantee it, so 20 plus the 5 for the Juggernaut, that's 25 times you need to triumph for now. The Void Reaver, you have to it's guaranteed that you drop it after 20 as well, so you need to beat hardcore mode 20 times to guarantee it, so we're going to add that to here. But additionally, there are other enemies here that only appear once during hardcore mode, so you will need to beat it, or you need to at least get to that wave 20 times. So for example, the Fallen Swordmaster only appears once in hardcore mode, so you'll need to at least reach wave 47 to get it. Stuff like the Vindicator, that appears 5 times, you don't need to worry about that too much. So you would at least need to get to wave 47 if for example, if you get the Void Reaver logbook, you'll need to get to wave 47 if you don't have the Fallen Swordmaster through the 5% chance, because it's over 100,000 health. You will get the Fallen King, assuming the 20-time hardcore thing, so you don't need to really think about hardcore mode up to the Fallen King, for now at least. Additionally, yeah, there are other exclusive enemies like the Necromancer boss and Unknown and the Vindicator. They only appear in hardcore mode, so you will definitely need to beat hardcore mode. Now, there are other reasons why you probably need to get up to at least wave 45, definitely 20 times, because of the Health Cultist. The Health Cultist is one of those enemies that only appears once and it has such low health that the odds of it dropping is incredibly low. So, more likely than not, you will need to beat the Health Cultist 20 times, because its odds, assuming a linear progression or a linear model, is 0.67%. So therefore, it is safe to assume that you need to get to at least wave 45 20 times in hardcore mode, because after that, the only exclusive enemies are the Fallen Swordmaster and the Void Reaver, and you may get lucky with a 5% chance, but more likely not, you will have to reach 20. Right, as for special maps, so you will need to beat each special map because of the bosses. The bosses appear that are exclusive to that, so you need to beat it at least 20 times to guarantee it. So there's the Polluted Wastelands Nuclear Monster, then there's the Gunslinger from Badlands 2, and then there's the Pizza Party Wox the Fox. For Wox the Fox, it doesn't matter if it's Lost Souls or if it's the regular game mode, it both count as one. So with that, that's an additional 60 times you need to beat each game mode to guarantee the drop. So that's we're up to 85 now to guarantee drops. However, that being said though, the enemies do have a chance of appearing before that, so they might not be limiting factors. So in the case of Pizza Party, the limiting factor for Pizza Party would be the minigunner, which only appears 4 times in the regular game mode, but 6 times in Lost Souls. Now, we're going to assume that you're going to do Lost Souls because you want to do this as quickly as possible. And Lost Souls, even though it's longer than the regular Pizza Party, you will need to beat the game less times for the minigunner, assuming that you get Wox the Fox with the 5% chance it has. Therefore, you will need to beat Pizza Party 4 times, because 4 times 6 is 24, but 3 times 6 is 18, so you're not guaranteed it. And because of its low health, only 14,000, it's not the 100,000 that's required for a 5% chance, so you more likely than not will reach the 20 limit requirement. Meanwhile, for Badlands 2, again, the limiting factor here is most likely going to be the Gunslinger, but it has 5% chance, so there's like 50% of the time you may get it before the required 20 kills. So in that case, what if you get lucky with the Gunslinger and it drops first time, what is going to be the limiting factor? In that case, it will be the Cavalry actually, because the Cavalry only appears 6 times. So again, similar to a Pizza Party, you'll need to beat it 4 times to guarantee it, which also guarantees the other exclusive enemies which appear here, include the Undead Miner, which appears 21 times. Meanwhile, the tank appears, I believe, about 12 times or something. But because you're getting the Cavalry, you're likely to get the tank as well with this, so it doesn't really matter. Also, this is how you get a hazard as well without using a challenge. And the other exclusive enemies, the Husk and the Giant Boss. The Giant Boss also appears in hardcore mode, so you'll probably get it through hardcore mode. But if you want to get it through Western, you can. And the Husk only appears in Western, so that's Badlands 2. Meanwhile, for the Boomer, that has a modern equivalent, so we'll get to that later. But the modern and legacy equivalents, if they're the same name, you don't need to get their logbooks again. Curiously, if you're missing the Necromancer boss, which may be likely because it only has 14,000 health and appears towards the end of the game in like low numbers, Badlands 2 is the best map for it. So that's 6, that'll be 9, that's 12. So you only need to beat Badlands 2 twice to get the Necromancer boss if you're missing it. Meanwhile, for Polluted Wastelands 2, the limiting factor here is probably the Nuclear Monster, again, 5% chance. But after that, it'll be the Nuclear Guardian. Now, the thing with the Nuclear Guardian is it has 80,000 health, not the 100,000, that's a 5% chance. So, more likely than not, you'll need to beat it 20 times for it to drop. But there is a non-insignificant amount of people who will probably get this before they need to kill this 20 times. Now, only 4 Nuclear Guardians appear, and the Nuclear Monster doesn't spawn in any Nuclear Guardians. Therefore, you will need to beat this 5 times, Polluted Wastelands 5 times to get the Nuclear Guardian. And that guarantees all of the other enemies as well, because they appear more than 5 times. Other than that, if you have the Nuclear Guardian and the Nuclear Monster because you're super lucky, the next one would be the Super Toxic. That appears 7 times naturally. You got it 12 times naturally. But then the Nuclear Monster can also spawn in the Super Toxic, so you may not even need 2 games to beat it. But assuming that you need 5 games from the Nuclear Guardian, you will need you can guarantee most other drops other than Nuclear Guardian and Nuclear Monster in 2 games. This is also how you get the Mystery Boss and the Mysteries without getting a challenge map involved. The mystery bosses appear quite frequently in Polluted Wastelands 2, and that's it. So in terms of special maps, Polluted Wastelands 2, that's you need to beat that. In tutorial mode, you need to beat it 20 times because the dummy boss is really rare to get it in. 250 health, that's like a 0.3% chance. So you're not naturally going to get this. And that is all for Pizza Party Badlands 2, Polluted Wastelands 2 tutorial and the challenge maps and hardcore mode. Then we move on to Fallen mode. Now, we're assuming that you get the Fallen King through the hardcore mode because you have to beat hardcore mode 20 times. May not be the case. You may get lucky with the Fallen Swordmaster and the Void Reaver, so you may not need to beat hardcore mode 20 times, but you may not be as lucky for the Fallen King. In that case, you might need to do the Fallen mode a couple of times, but I doubt it's going to be the 20, and assuming that you do hardcore mode 20 times, you don't need to beat it for the Fallen King. In fact, working our way backwards, the Fallen Guardian that doesn't appear here. Sorry, you don't need to get it because you would have gotten the Fallen Guardian through the Legacy version in hardcore mode. However, what you will need to get that is based on the Fallen King is the Necrotic Skeleton. Now, the Fallen Summoner can spawn it in, and it debuts on wave 33, but it has a 40% chance of spawning in 3 Necrotic Skeletons. Therefore, the best way to get the Necrotic Skeleton is to make it spawn in through the Fallen King. Now, with the Fallen King, it appears that it doesn't have a random chance to have an ability, but the ability that spawns in the Necrotic Skeleton is the last one to appear naturally. So it will be the 3rd one here, and then it's going to be the 7th ability. So you'll need to let the Fallen King do its 7th ability for it to drop, or for the Necrotic Skeletons to appear, because it's 10 Necrotic Skeletons. So to get the 20 guaranteed, because it has low health and you're unlikely to get it naturally, you will need to, I guess, beat Fallen mode 2 times at least. Or once if you get the Fallen King ability. The Templar you'll get in hardcore mode. Sorry, no, you won't get it in hardcore mode. You might get it in the Juggernaut challenge, but more likely than not, you'll need to grind this out in Fallen mode. Now, the Templar only appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now, I could say just beat Fallen mode 4 times to guarantee the Templar. Because of its health, yeah, more likely than not, you'll need to beat it 5 times. But we are forgetting Infernal Abyss exists, so you can have up to 3 times the amount of enemies that spawn here. Apart from bosses, that's why we need 2 times for the Necrotic Skeleton. But also, for the Templar, because it appears 5 times, so in Infernal Abyss, it is duplicated 3 times. So you would actually only need to beat that Infernal Abyss twice to get the Templar. Oh wait, I forgot. The Fallen Honor Guard. Right, so this is going to be the limiting factor here. So it has 75,000 health, so you might get it by chance randomly. But the Fallen Guardian boss in Infernal Abyss, this one's not duplicated because it's a boss enemy, but this one on wave 40 is duplicated. So therefore, that means 4 new Honor Guards appear. Therefore, you'll need to beat Fallen mode 5 times to get the Fallen Honor Guard. All other enemies appear more than twice, so they are not going to be a limiting factor when it comes to getting all of the logbooks. So it's just the Fallen Honor Guard that you need to watch out for. So realistically, you may not need to beat the Fallen mode, and in fact, you only need to really guarantee for the Fallen Honor Guard if assuming are things, because the Awakened Fallen King you'll get, or sorry, the Fallen King you'll get in the Hidden Wave. And in fact, we can use the Hidden Wave to our advantage. I mean, you're not very likely going to assume that you're going to do it because, well, I don't think is Infernal Abyss Hidden Wave even possible. Even if it is, we're going to assume it is, right? So there's one Fallen Honor Guard that appears here, another Fallen Honor Guard, another Fallen Honor Guard, and another Fallen Honor Guard. So that's what? That's one Fallen Honor Guard that can't duplicate. That's another one on wave 40, 2, 3, 4, 5. So actually, you only need to beat Fallen mode, Hidden Wave at least, twice to guarantee the Fallen Honor Guard dropping. Now, obviously, that might be very difficult, so don't take my word for it. But we are assuming minimum requirement, so we're going to get that. And because of the minimum amount of triumphs that we need, this therefore means that you only need to triumph Fallen mode twice more times, and that is purely just for the Fallen Honor Guard, and all other enemies would come naturally from that. Right, next for our list is Molten mode, and this is for the Molten Warlord. Yeah, you will have to beat this 20 times because the Molten Warlord does not appear in hardcore mode. That's the Molten boss, so yeah, 20 times to guarantee it from Molten mode. Now, if you're assuming that you get the Molten, if you're lucky, you get the Molten Warlord first try, because it's kind of, you could probably get it, it's 5% chance. What are the other limiting enemies in Molten mode? Well, I think that would be the Molten Summoner. The Molten Summoner only appears 3 times. Now, obviously, knowing the Infernal Abyss tactic, we can manipulate it so more Molten Summoners can appear. In this case, on wave 31, it's a boss, so that doesn't duplicate thrice. In 33 and 35, it does, so that therefore means there will be 7 Molten Summoners that appears, so you need to beat it 3 times to guarantee the Molten Summoner drop. All other enemies appear more than 3 times in Molten mode, so you will not need to worry about them too much. Oh, actually, the Molten Executioner spawns at the same rate as the Molten Necromancer, Molten Summoner, sorry. So you will need to also worry about that. Right, then we move on to Intermediate mode, and you will not need to worry about the normal, speedy, slow because they appear in tutorial mode, and we're going to have to assume that you beat tutorial mode twice, 20 times, so they appear more than 20 times. So it's fine. The thing you need to worry about is Patient 0, and that's probably it. Patient 0 in intermediate mode has has 100,000 health exactly, so there's a 5% chance of it dropping. Now, if you get lucky with the patient 0, the next thing would be, I think, the failed experiment. Now, it's really weird because of the slime. The slime can actually turn into the failed experiment, but the failed experiment appears quite a lot of times in intermediate mode. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 5, that's 7, that's 10, that's 12, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So, in fact, you probably don't even need to do intermediate mode on Fallen Abyss. You just need to beat it twice, honestly. And in fact, if you do it on Infernal Abyss, you're guaranteed to get all of the enemies apart from Patient 0. So really, intermediate mode on a dual lane map gets you all of the enemies apart from Patient 0. Then we got into casual mode, and you don't actually need to do in casual mode, because all of the enemies that appear in casual mode either appear in easy mode or intermediate mode. And because we need to beat intermediate mode to get the exclusive enemies in the failed experiments, the living experiment, and the Reaver, you don't need to beat casual mode at all, because the last boss here, Patient 0, you get in intermediate mode. And in fact, you should not use casual mode to grind out enemies, because Patient 0 here only has 60,000 health, therefore it is less than a 5% chance of dropping. So if you need to get Patient 0, do it on intermediate mode, because there's a 5% chance that it'll drop naturally. So you may not need 20 intermediate mode games, where in casual mode you're more likely to need 20 casual mode games. And that leaves easy mode. And let's be real, you're going to need to beat this 20 times, and in fact it's more than naturally, because the Gravedigger only actually, no, the Gravedigger appears in hardcore mode. You don't need to beat easy mode to actually get it. Yes, so because of hardcore mode, you don't need to beat easy mode. So because of I think intermediate mode, intermediate mode has a speedy boss, so you don't even need to worry about the speedy boss. You don't need to worry about the Gravedigger, the Breaker Force. No, the only enemy in easy mode that you probably need to kind of care about is the Bolt. The Bolt is the only enemy that appears exclusively in easy mode. And the Bolt doesn't have anything in hardcore mode, anything in fallen mode, anything anywhere elsewhere. So you will need to beat it 20 times, because it has 65 health, it's very low. Because this is easy mode, yeah, you can very easily beat it. But how many times does the Bolt appear? Oh, the Bolt appears so many times. 7 plus 10, that's 17. You just need to beat easy mode once. In fact, you don't even need to beat easy mode. You need to just get easy mode up to, what, wave 20? Yeah, so that's 7 here, that's 17. Yeah, you only need to get easy mode up to wave 20 to get all of, to get the Bolt, which therefore completes everything. So, by my calculations, this therefore means that to guarantee every single logbook, you need to beat, you need to beat the game 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. 160 times you need to beat the game, and then you can skip some of the stuff. So, 162 because of the Fallen Mode, Infernal Abyss, Hidden Wave, Triumphs. Then you need to beat Gilded Path. Well, you don't even need to beat Gilded Path. You need to get up to wave 39 and beat the summoner bosses there. And then you need to beat easy mode up to wave 20. So, in our case, even if you have the worst luck in the game, bearing in mind that after 20 enemy drops, you'll get the logbook, you only need to play 168 games to get all of the logbooks. And if you're lucky, assuming you get bosses on the first drop, you only need to play 77 games to get all of the logbooks if you're lucky with bosses that have a 5% drop rate and you get it first try or something. Other than that, it's more than likely you'll need like about 150 if you're super lucky with like beating everything and getting good teammates and everything. But yeah, that's interesting, very interesting stuff.